Welcome to TypeScript FM, the friendly podcast for TypeScript developers where we bring you news, updates, and interviews from the community with plenty of tomfoolery sprinkled in. I'm your host, Kamran Ayub, and I'm joined by my co-host and best bud, Eric Onerheim. Together, we're the two TypeScript fools. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Hey. How's it going this later in the evening? You tired?
I am not tired, actually. And I was talking to you about this today. I slept for 11 hours last night.
Nice.
And my partner is concerned now that they're like, you're sleeping a lot, so you probably should go to the doctor and get your thyroid checked. And I'm like, okay, well, yes, I'm going to go do that.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of like weird things that start to crop up in your 30s. And then, you know.
Yeah. I like the joke that every decade you roll on the chronic illness table and see what new fun chronic illness you develop.
You know, I've been playing Outer Worlds, and they have this system that's called flaws. And so what happens is, as you play the game, you're like doing stuff. And if you do something enough times, it crosses some sort of threshold, and then it prompts you. And it's like, the Earth Directorate has found a flaw in you. And it's like, it has some sort of bonus, but then there's like a really negative effect. One of the funniest one is bad knees, where you, if you're crouched, enemies cannot hear you at all. You have 100% sneak if you crouch. But then when you stand up, your knees make a cracking sound that that notifies any enemies in the area.
So funny.
Yep. So there's all sorts of flaws like that, there's a whole bunch of them. But anyway, it reminds me of that.
That's hilarious.
I like the roll on chronic illness table.
Yeah. That's my standard joke. We also got new permanent lights installed today. So they're like, you know how putting up holiday lights is the worst?
Yes, that's why I only do it once.
Yeah, these are just permanent.
That's cool.
And there's like an app that you can control and do whatever colors you want to do.
Yeah.
For whatever festivities you want to celebrate.
Yeah, I was asking you before the show, I've seen ones on people's houses that when they light up, it looks like they're overlapping triangles. Like they're very they're very well defined and they look really nice. And it looks like they're LED and they can change colors and stuff.
All of the above.
Yeah. That's really cool.
They are incredibly bright. So like if I crank it to 100, it looks like we're a GD spaceship. Like we're going to take off.
They can see you from the sky.
They can see us from space.
The planes think you're a runway. They're part of the runway.
They might, actually.
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, we're excited. It was kind of a Christmas gift to each other because we were like, you know what? We want to be festive, but we're both people that don't want to put up lights.
You know, there's a house here in our town, in our city, where the guy, he was featured in the local news because every year he puts on, he's able to do that programmed light show. And he also has a radio antenna, so you can tune in on like the AM or FM on one of the channels when you're nearby, and you can like listen to the music so that it's not like blasting music normally, but you can listen to it in your car, and then it's synced to the light show.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But it sounds like if you have an app, you know, that sounds programmable to me.
It is. Each light is addressable, but they have like all kinds of presets here. Like I'll show you like every sports team on the planet.
Yeah.
So like you can be like, there's like, for example, if like you're really into the Celtics, you can like pick the Celtics like built-in theme and you'll get your white and green.
There you go. So on game day, you can like set the lights up.
That's right.
I was wondering if they have like a Wizards of Winter mode. If you remember that meme, that was back in like high school. But it was like a programmed light show to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra Wizards of Winter metal song, and it's a great song.
Oh yeah. They have so many things. I think it's called so like for example, like they can animate too. So like
there you go.
You can't see this, but. And maybe we'll show a clip of this in the Twitter feed.
Yeah.
The Bleet. I'll get a GIF of this, but you can have like animated lights around your house.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I wonder if they have a mode where you can upload a song and it can like go to the beat of the song or something. I don't know.
Oh, they sure do.
Oh yeah.
They sure do.
Heck yeah. We're gonna be going to Eric's house next season.
Yeah,
drive the kids over.
It's gonna be a wild New Year's next year.
Well, other than that, I mean, I don't have much of an update. I've just been heads down on this course. I finished 2 modules so far, the content for them, and I just got 1 more to go. So that's what I'm working on. I am using an interesting tool that I'll be featuring in the course. It's called FlowWise AI. It's a visual builder for agents. And so, as you can imagine, with the word flow, it's like a flow chart. So you drag and drop different blocks into this workflow. You can connect them together, and it's no code, but it's also not as easy as like Zapier to like connect to different apps, but it's pretty neat though. And it allows you to do some more advanced workflows, which is the whole point of me including it in the course, because it's a no code tool, but it does allow you to do more advanced workflows like human in the loop. And it can also have memory, which is super cool. So you can do a task up front in the workflow. It can save it to the flow state, which is like its in-memory state during the flow. And then later in the flow, you can look up those values. So you can do more sophisticated things, because the use case in the course is like a podcast guest coordinator, which is inspired by some real agents that we've made here for the show. But it does a little bit more than what some of the ones I've designed so far do. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. And this is like an addendum to your like personal agents course for non-technical people.
That's right. I want to say business professionals, because they might be technical in other aspects, but they're not developers per se.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be fun, and that's due like first week of March, so it's coming out soon. All right. Should we move on to the news for the week of February 16th?
We should.
Yeah.
We should. In case you missed it, we posted our first video podcast. We did a TypeScript 6.0 beta read-along, like vodcast, so you can see what we look like. Face reveal if you haven't seen us before. But we go through the official blog post of the TypeScript 6.0 beta and walk through what each thing means. Kamran did a really great job editing it, made me look very smart.
Yeah, so it's basically a continuation of the last episode, the first news item that we covered, which was the 6.0 beta announcement. We just kept going on that episode, but then when I went to edit it, that itself was like 35 minutes long. And so I'm like, you know what? I think we should just pull that out and do its own thing. And it'll make a lot more sense if people can just see the blog post as we read through it, because that's what we were doing. So yeah, that will not show up in your regular podcast RSS feed. So if you've subscribed to us on iTunes or Spotify or whatever, you probably won't see that episode. It's out as a bonus episode. So you have to go to our YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to us there, and you'll get notified when those episodes come out. So you'll get the regular podcast episodes, but then you'll also get the video episodes that come out. We're trying to figure out, is there a possibility to like add those episodes into the feed, but like those ones are not going to make a lot of sense to like listen to. So yeah, we're still trying to figure out that flow. Unfortunately, it is not as smooth as just doing an audio only podcast, but we'll figure it out. I think Spotify has a way for us to upload videos, and then Apple Podcasts is coming out this spring, I think, with a way for us to upload videos.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll figure it out, but we'll let you know, just like this, if we release one of those bonus episodes. Okay, cool. More TypeScript news though. Just a small one. This past week in the TypeScript native preview, the Go version, there was a PR that was merged that is for quote unquote remote AST materialization. And if you're like me, you're like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? Yeah.
Well, basically the bottom line is that the PR affects linters and the ability to parse files and build lint rules with types. And that PR gave a 6.4x performance increase for that AST parsing, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome when they're kicking over rocks and getting orders of magnitude increases.
Yeah. So I don't think that this really affects the sort of regular local development code path. This is like I'm building a lint tool, like an ESLint rule that uses typed linting, and parsing your files just got way faster for the lint tool, so it makes the lint tool faster, which is pretty cool.
Next up, we have npmx.dev. npmx.dev, maybe the least kept secret in the latest thing by Daniel Rowe, of Nuxt fame. It is not a package manager, but a fast, modern browser for the npm registry. And I'll say it's pretty dope.
Yep. It is the better version. Do I want to say it's better? Yeah, it's probably it's better. It's better. It's better than the main npmjs.com.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to, like, you can hear me typing there. You can go take a look at like Excalibur, for example, hashtag not sponsored, hashtag actually sponsored. And it looks gorgeous, like absolutely gorgeous. It's fast. The search is really slick.
I mean, like, they wouldn't have made it if it wasn't as good as the original. So it's a better version of it. And it's built from the community too, which is really cool.
Yeah, there's a couple of really interesting features, such as the compare at the top. So you can do side-by-side comparison of the NPM packages, which is pretty neat. So you can be like, hey, what kind of runtimes does this support? What kind of performance are we looking at? What kind of module format does this support? What are the licenses? So you can kind of get this longitudinal comparison across multiple libraries for things that you may or may not care about, above and beyond like package size or downloads or this kind of thing. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is they're adding some connect to the npm CLI and connect to what they're calling the atmosphere with social features. I haven't done this yet, but it looks like it'll do app proto. So this is the distributed like social protocol that Blue Sky uses to do the social network thing.
It's also similar to JSR. It has built-in docs generation for you. I think that it's maybe not quite as comprehensive as the JSR documentation generation, but like, for example, I can click docs on Excalibur and it gives me all the exported functions and their JS doc, which is pretty cool.
Citation needed, but I think they are using Deno's doc generation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Under the hood.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But citation needed on that.
That's cool. And you can also click the code tab and you can see the package code, it looks like.
Yeah, and it looks like we accidentally published our playground code.
That's pretty funny. So one of the things that I'd mentioned on Blue Sky was it would be cool to see like a bundle phobia built into this, and I believe that they're working on that if it's not already here. I don't see it immediately on here, but I think that would be super cool, so then you don't have to go to bundle phobia to figure out what the bundle size is going to be for a package.
Yeah. What's really neat here too is like at the very top you can be like, oh, this has types, this has ESM, this has common, and then you can also like a package. And then you can also see that Excalibur was built and signed with trusted publishing. So it's built and signed with GitHub Actions. So you know that it was published by a trusted place. We can talk about that more, but doesn't guarantee everything. But it's really a well-designed little app.
The other nice thing that it does that is better than the original site is that it has the latest tags, not just the latest version, but like the other latest tags that you have. So because we have a next tag, which is like our edge build, and that shows up right on here on the homepage so that you can easily like click it and install that version of it.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. And they also have, if you've ever needed to explore like, what's the latest version of like some, supported line, if you open up their other versions tab, they have just convenient like top level versions and the latest versions of those just right there. In NPM, it's kind of a hassle. You kind of have to do a little bit of scrolling to find what you're looking for. And this is just nice.
Yeah, this is nice. It's just like in line there.
Yeah, super cool.
Love it.
We love you, Daniel. Thank you.
Yeah, we're really excited to see how this evolves, and maybe it just becomes the new npm site. All right, we do have some browser news. So if you use Chrome, there's new Devtools in Chrome 145, and you're like, well, why would we ever cover like Devtools? That sounds kind of boring, but it's directly related to doing front-end development. And one of the new features in the new Devtools is soft navigation timings are now visible in the profiler. And you're like, Kamran, what's a soft navigation? So in a single page app, when the route changes, that's a soft navigation. When you reload the page, like in a multi-page app, you click a hyperlink and it goes to a new page and a server renders it. So there's a document request. That's called a hard navigation. So before, it was always easy to see when there's a new hard navigation because there would always be a new document request. A new session would created in the profiler, right? But in a single page app, when you're navigating the site, it's all just one session. So there was never really a clean way to see when route changes occurred. And now that's like a formal feature in the profiler. So that's really cool. And then the next thing that they added, which has been a pain point for a long time, if you've ever done JavaScript profiling and you look in the gutter and you see timings over there in the profiling mode, in development, they're usually really accurate. But in production, in minified code, especially if you don't have any source maps, they're just totally wrong. And that's been a bug for a long time, long time. And it's been fixed. So it actually can work if you use the pretty mode where you like print it, you pretty print it. So even if it's production code, you can pretty print it in Chrome. And then if you have source maps, it's also accurate. So they really fixed that up. So that's super nice. So it's going to make it a lot easier to identify lines of code that are slow in production, which is cool. And then the last two things that are a little bit interesting. One, in the network tab, you can now identify render blocking resources. So you can see like what's blocking your page load, your initial page request. And then the other cool feature is that for a long time, you could always make your requests slower. Like you can slow down the network speed and like emulate like 3G or 4G, but it just applied to all network requests. And now you've got individual network request throttling. So you can test specific dependencies and see how your app performs when specific requests take longer.
You know, that one team with that one app that you call and it's inconsistent and they claim there's no problem. Now you can test.
You know who you are.
You can isolate things.
That's right. Have you used the new Chrome tools?
I haven't, but I have used recently the Safari Devtools, and they have some catching up to do.
I thought you were going to say, and they are great.
No, the performance tools in Safari made me really sad because I was trying to identify a performance bug in Safari, and I was struggling. Now, it could be me holding it wrong, willing to admit that I don't use Safari every day, but I was struggling to interpret that performance.
Yeah, I believe we did cover this, but just this week I was debugging a performance issue in Firefox, and Firefox has very similar performance tools now to Chrome. What's interesting is that they open up in like a new tab, so it's not like part of the Devtools, but the profiling session browser thing opens up in a new tab, and then you can browse the session, which is super cool.
I find their tools are very useful for drilling into like a hot path. So a lot of times I wind up using a combination of both Chrome and Firefox while debugging a performance issue because I get different like slices of the information presented differently, and it helps, at least me. The Firefox way it's very good at showing you the hot path and like being like, okay, ignore everything else here. Chrome gives you a nice like big picture with the flame graph by default, where you can see your long call trees. You can see like, okay, overall, this is what's taking up time, but there's a lot of noise potentially if you don't know what you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah. Leveling up in those profiling tools, it's good use of your time. The other browser that did have a minor update, so I don't want to go too far into it, Safari 26.4 is in beta right now, so it'll be coming out soon. But the headliner is that they have addressed a whole bunch of CSS grid stuff. Specifically, I think they added support for CSS grid lanes, which I'm not even familiar with. And then they've fixed some of the rendering for some CSS grid display styles, but you can read the release notes if you're curious about that, but it looks like they're focusing on CSS grid for 26.4.
And if you were excited about scroll-driven animations, they now have support for threaded scroll-driven animations improving performance in Safari.
Cool.
Which is a huge deal.
Yeah. Because I think that they added scroll-driven animations very recently, so that's nice. So they're going to perform better.
Yeah. They weren't as awesome as you would have hoped, but now they're going to be more awesome.
Cool. We do have some library watches. Do you want to hit us with a couple?
Yeah. The first one is Knip, I believe it's pronounced. 5.85 was just dropped. And the author, Lars, webpro.nl on Blue Sky, has a very large changelog
We should probably explain what Knip is.
We probably should explain what Knip is, shouldn't we? Let's start with that.
I'm trying to figure out, I would have pronounced it Nip, but...
This is a good question. Is it pronounced Knip or is it just pronounced like nip it on the bud? Like,
that's what I
thought. It has a picture of a scissors.
It has a picture of a scissors, and in the context, I would have pronounced it Nip, but I think that we've heard someone say Knip.
It could be that they were pulling a joke on us, and now we're just saying Knip. Nip, or Knip, however it is said, finds unused files, dependencies, and exports in your JavaScript and TypeScript projects. This is great for getting rid of things that you're not using. Nip it before you ship it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think that's their tagline. So now I think that's how it's said. I don't think it's knip it before you ship it. Or maybe it is. It still kind of works.
It has to be nip. Hold on a second.
It's on their README. It's on their README.
Okay, good.
It says it is and is pronounced with a hard K.
It is. It is Knip.
It is Knip.
Okay.
All right.
You heard it here first.
It is Knip.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Well, joke's on us. You can't make fun of us now. It is Knip.
We got there at the end. So the big features here in the 585 release are Knip is now compatible with erasable syntax only. That's awesome. They have the payload CMS plugin, which I want to know more about. They look everywhere for the manifest and robots file in the Next plugin. That's also huge.
They've got a lot of features. I'm just looking at the features page. I mean, it is both like a linter with like auto fixing, but then it also is meant for like getting rid of unused stuff. So it can find a lot of unused things.
Yeah. No, definitely check it out. Definitely take a look at Knip for your project. And one of the biggest things that Lars touts here in his Blue Sky post is they've made an out-of-memory fix, and they've made Knip up to 20% faster.
Sweet. The first place you might want to play with it is on their playground. I think that's probably the easiest place to like see it in action. So like
awesome.
It detects unused files, unlisted dependencies, unused exports. It gets rid of clutter. It's the Marie Kondo for your code base.
Awesome. Next up, it's kind of a learning library from WebAssembly from the ground up. They've released a new version of @wasmground/emit. And it's a small, simple WASM assembler library for TypeScript where you can build up like WebAssembly strongly typed in TypeScript. And it's really verbose, but the goal here is to teach you WebAssembly from the ground up, learn WASM by building a simple compiler. There's a companion book with this. But this just got an update. And if you take a look at it, it's really nice. You get to see all of the types of things in WebAssembly. And the cool thing about having types is you can learn more about what you're doing, right, as you're exploring the API. And cool enough, it builds WebAssembly module in TypeScript. So you can just build a WebAssembly module in TypeScript and then just run it as WebAssembly. So really cool stuff.
Yeah, this is neat. The book is only about a year old, it looks like, but it's an online book, and it basically teaches you WebAssembly. So this is a super nice resource.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be digging into this.
Looks like it was created by Patrick Dubroy, co-creator of Ohm.js, and then
we know Ohm.
Mariano Guerra, co-founder of Glue Data and Instadeck. So that's pretty cool. Nice job.
Very nice. Next up, we have Tempest on our library watch, version 3.2.1. Hey, 321. And this, if you are a PHP developer, you might find interesting. This is generating TypeScript types from PHP files. So if you were looking to make your data transfer objects, or whatever you call them in PHP, with your front end from your back end, this might be a tool for you.
Yeah, it looks like Tempest in general is a little bit like Laravel. It kind of reminds me of that. It's a framework, so it has very similar type, like you can create a controller, you get your APIs. It's got different types of PHP view components, routing, middleware, all sorts of stuff. So it looks like it is a PHP framework. It's got an ORM also. And you can also design console applications too. So lots of different stuff in there.
In their example, you decorate a class with the AS type decorator, and then you run a command line Tempest generate TypeScript types, and it'll generate a TypeScript file for you.
I used to be a PHP developer.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's how I started.
I think it's cool that PHP is cool again.
Yeah, PHP is cool again. It's not your grandpappy's PHP.
That's right. I think we said that.
Yeah, I did.
We said that on one of the first episodes. I remember that line.
Yeah, it's cool again.
Love it. Okay, we have some community highlights. Looks like you found something cool on Reddit.
Yeah, on r/TypeScript, the Odor, I don't know how to say that username. They posted a library called Runner, which just launched its 5.5.0. And it's kind of like the all-in-one framework. It's got dependency injection, works on all platforms, runs on Node, Bun, Deno, edge computing. So that's like your serverless. It's got complete and absolute type safety, no exceptions. So that's interesting. It allows middleware and tags to enforce input-output contracts on tasks and resources at compile time, which is an interesting thing. I want to see how they do that. Yeah, it might be something to take a look at. I think the selling point of Runner is it's for building modern, complex applications that integrate with multiple services, have moving parts. So if you have a complex system that you need to glue together, this might be for you. And honestly, it looks a lot like Sinatra. Looking at it, a very fluent style interface, very declarative. So there's hey, you declare a database and you do this fluent API to configure it. Hey, I'm going to configure this mailer to talk to an SMTP server, simple mail transfer protocol server. I need to talk to this other service. I have this hook that needs to run on the server. I need to do this, background task, this kind of stuff. Very interesting stuff. So definitely check it out if you have a very complex server-side situation.
What's funny is that we have covered Runner before, but it was more of like a 1.0, and that was some months ago, and they've really revved on it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do like how the OP is honest, and they said it's still a young library, it's unused, it has a large bus factor, high risk of adoption, reinvent some wheels, but everything has a beginning, so looking for some risk takers to try it out. They do have a production app with Runner as a backend for a mobile app since December 2025. So it's been in production for over a year. It's been a really good experience. So yeah, if that's something that you're willing to try out, you should go do it.
I think I forgot to mention my favorite part of this post was I shaved the yak until it got bald.
That's right. Cool. Sweet. Hey, Deno, do you remember their Build a Game series? In February, they came out with part 5 at the beginning of February, and just this last week, they came out with part 6.
And part 6, they talk about the observability metrics and alerting that you might want in your app, but in a game in general. And they talk about kind of, honestly, a good primer in OpenTelemetry. They talk about logs, traces, and metrics. And really, this post isn't so much game related as is these are table stakes for setting up your observability in. So I do recommend reading this. It's a really great primer on OpenTelemetry and doing traces in OpenTelemetry. Why might you want that? Well, in distributed software, it's really hard to debug. And you know what? Logs are almost never a solution. If you're reading a log file, my opinion here, you failed.
Yep, that's right. Refer to previous episode where we talked about loggingsucks.com.
Loggingsucks.com.
I think that's what it is, isn't it?
I think it was something like that.
Yep, that's right. Okay, good. I don't have to edit it. Yep, it's loggingsucks.com. The other thing is that this is actually the last in the series. So if you want to check out this series, over 6 posts, you go from a blank directory to a fully instrumented, globally distributed dinosaur runner game. So in the first post, you create a basic Oak server serving static files. Then you go to a canvas game loop with a playable dino character. Then you add cactus obstacles and pixel-perfect collision detection. You add a database with Postgres, a leaderboard, score submission via API. You create player profiles with custom Deno colors, themes, and difficulty settings, and then you end with this full observability with structured logs, custom traces, and platform metrics. So yeah, I think this is a really cool series and is a sort of nice showcase of what you can build with Deno.
All right.
Next up, the Next.js blog had a pretty good blog post on building Next.js for an agentic future. A little bit of a clickbaity title, I feel like, or like a say nothing kind of title. But in this post, there is some cool stuff buried in here. It actually turns out to be a really cool case study into why MCP is useful. So it starts out by saying that like we tried to build an in-browser agent to help with like debugging Next.js apps. And it turns out that A, this is really hard to do, but B, it's not really how people were using AI agents. They were using stuff like Claude Code and Cursor. And so why not integrate directly with the tools that they're already using? And MCP is perfect for that. And so they used what they learned. And rather than creating something custom and in-house, they actually created an MCP server. And then they created a dev tool to go with it so that they could distribute it. And it integrates into the CLI, and it's got a ton of context into how to build Next.js apps. So a lot of best practices. You can give it an error, and it can understand what the error is because it can look at your app, right? So this is where I think MCP sort of clicks with people, is like MCP, it's a deterministic way to get custom context, structured context into AI agents. And you can control it, right? So you can interface with stuff that's running on the local machine. You can go fetch remote resources. You can index your docs into a format that is easily digestible by AI agents. You can do pre-made prompts to help people so that they don't have to be prompt engineers. You can do all sorts of cool stuff with MCP. Go check out my courses for that. But this is a good case study, and they have a talk to go along with this where they go into more detail of how they built the MCP server. So I do think that is a pretty cool blog post.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more innovation here as, you know, the Wild West. If we're thinking of like the spectrum, I feel like MCPs are kind of the, okay, we're moving towards more determinism here because we need it in software. We need determinism to build things that work consistently.
Yep. I think what's really cool is that we are going to get more closer to contextual tools. So like right now, really a lot of the tool set that we have is like not contextual tools. Like they're just generic tools. So for example, the Chrome Devtools is a good example. Right? The Chrome Devtools, you want to profile your app, but the profile session has no context into like what you're trying to build. It's just showing you the flame chart. It can't generate insights or anything for you. But imagine if you could tell the MCP server, hey, I'm going to do this user flow, take a profile of it and then tell me what you find. And it has access to your code base. It has access to, let's say, your documentation. It has access to whatever. You can provide a lot more granular, customized insights into like what's going on in your app. And so I think this next evolution of tools that we're going to see are going to be much more plugged into our development workflow. And I think that's where a lot of the power is not necessarily in writing the code. There might be some of that, but like taking care of boilerplate and like custom in context help, I think is kind of cool.
Very cool.
Hey, we talk about TC39 a lot on this podcast, but before we started this podcast, I really had no idea what TC39 is. And we probably have some listeners that are like, what is TC39? I keep hearing this from you, but I don't know what it is. And it looks like you found a good resource for what that is.
That's right. We're linking to another podcast, the Shop Talk Show, and they have Ujwal Sharma. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I might have gotten it wrong. I'm very sorry. But they talk about what's going on in TC39, who's in it, and how TC39 guides JavaScript. This is a great show to listen to so that you can understand how JavaScript evolves. ECMAScript, air quotes, scare quotes, evolves. And you can hear about the whole process and what's happening. And they talk about some of the recent developments in JavaScript, including dates, signals, and types as comments.
Nice. That's cool.
Next is a great article from the Register written by Stephen J. Von Nichols about open source developers need to take breaks. And I believe this article was actually inspired by Daniel Rowe and the npmx team taking a break to recharge. And you know what? I agree. We need to take breaks and recharge.
Yes.
So
That's right.
overwork is not a personality trait. This is a great article, and it's a good reminder that we need to take breaks sometimes. You'll burn out if you're doing 60, 80-hour weeks with open source on top. You're not. That's not sustainable.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And the conclusion of the article is, as much as it might go against, our workaholic brains, we need to fundamentally change how we treat open source developers and what we expect from them. So why not we take breaks? Mm-hmm. Why don't they take breaks?
Yes. Just like you took a week break in Arizona.
I did. It was very nice.
And then you felt recharged, and I saw you powering through a whole bunch of issues and PRs that have been open for a long time, cleaning them up.
I was, yeah. I kind of let them pile up there through the end of December, through the end of January.
It's all good. It looks like you did clean up a whole bunch.
I did.
That's nice.
I did.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very American thing. I don't know how, I feel like we lived in Europe for 6 months. People are not workaholics over there. They value time freedom versus wealth and money, I would say. But not everybody, but a lot of people were. The friends that we met over there, were just having a great life.
I would even go much further. They value living.
Yes, living. Yeah.
They value living. And I feel like here we get lost in the trees and we forget that we need to live. And why else are we doing things but to live? Enjoy it.
It's funny. Sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I got a really nice LinkedIn message this week from someone I met during my consulting career when I was doing that a couple of years ago. And they said that they were really inspired by what I've done and how I quit my job and I'm doing this TypeScript FM thing. I'm doing Pluralsight authoring. And I've said before, I work probably 20, 25 hours a week. So I'm definitely not working a full hour work week that I used to do when I was working at my corporate job. But I'm still making ends meet and I'm having a lot of fun and it feels really good. I feel like I'm in a great place right now. Everything's going really well for work and stuff like that. It's perfect. And I can take my summers off for the most part. I just do the podcast during the summer. So, and they were like, I'm thinking about doing something like that. And do you have some advice? And I was like, you know what? I got some resources for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think it's important. After we lived in Europe, I came back to working at a corporate job, but my mindset had changed. I'd been before this, I was living to work. Now I'm going to work to live. Flip it
That's
around.
Right. You should flip it around. It's important. Take control of your life and live your life.
That's right. Cool. That's enough personal development. Welcome to the Personal Development Podcast.
That's right. Our personal philosophy. Next is a blog post from the folks at Frontend Masters. This one's written by Adam Rackis. And this is a good primer, a good introduction to TypeScript generics. And the blog post is titled Fun with TypeScript Generics. And they kind of go through this really quick, terse, motivating example of building a query function in TanStack start to do single flight mutations, which I don't know anything about, but I'm sure you want to type that. That sounds like a thing you'd probably want to have types on. And so they go through, what their success criteria are, how they do that, and how to think about TypeScript generics in that context. And it's a short blog post. It doesn't take too long to get through it. And they show you how, combined with conditional types, you can make generics incredibly powerful in TypeScript, more so than I think a lot of other languages. So definitely check this out if you're TypeScript generics haven't really clicked or how or why I would use them. This might be a good article for you.
I believe that generics are the number one, hard to grasp. The most hard to grasp concept in TypeScript, I think, is generics. So if that sounds like where you're at, then you should go check that out for sure.
All right. I have a Bleet of the week.
Hit me.
This one's from Savannah.dev on Blue Sky, and it reads, the TypeScript will continue until morale improves, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, yes, that's right. We can poke fun at it. It's all good. We're all friends here. You have some cool links?
I do have some cool links. And in case you missed it, there's a YouTuber that wired 400 car batteries together.
What?
And does wild stuff.
But for what purpose?
Wild stuff for 2 whole hours, like throwing ridiculous current through various objects. So if you would like to see current that rivals currents generated in fusion reactions, go check this out. It's absolutely bazonkers, and it's a lot of fun.
That's funny.
And there's a lot of magnetic effects that start happening at this kind of current that you don't really see every day. Absolutely wild. And the other thing is near and dear to my heart is there's a brand new ShaderToy competitor on the block called FragCoord. And it looks real fancy. It looks real nice. So if no shade to ShaderToy, but this looks real nice, Clark. This looks real nice, Clark.
That's neat. So just for people that aren't familiar, ShaderToy is a way to preview and like share shaders, right? Online.
That's right.
That's cool.
Yeah. And shaders are, for lack of a better explanation, a way to do anything with pixels on the screen. So you can do like really cool effects. One effect that I did recently was I recreated the polychrome, like shiny card effect in Balatro in shaders. Yep. So that's an example of one thing you can do.
It's a very satisfying effect.
It is a very satisfying effect.
I had 2 things. This is a TypeScript related thing, so it could fit under community, but it's a game, and it's super interesting. I've never played this game, but it's called Thrust, and I believe, I just want to make sure that I say it right, the BBC Micro. I don't even know what the BBC Micro is. I've heard of a lot of game consoles. I have a game tracking app. I've seen a lot of platforms, but I feel like I do not know what the BBC Micro is. But this person recreated a game in TypeScript with Claude Code, and they even went so far as to recreate the sound chip and the MOS, the BBC's operating system, to the sound chip so that they could play the exact same sounds. So it's pretty cool. Not only is it a really neat kind of like case study into like using Claude Code to like port something and not to like write it, but like to actually like understand a code base like that you're not familiar with and like to port a game. But yeah, you can play the full game online, so it works on the web and is built with TypeScript. So it's pretty cool.
I'm not mistaken, the BBC Micro was a personal computer for learning computing from the BBC that wired up to your television.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong about that history.
It was published in 1986.
Wild stuff.
Yeah. It says the creator of the game was Jeremy Smith, and Jeremy went on to create the even more impressive Exile with Peter Irvin before he tragically died in 1992. But you can play the original online as well. All right. Similarly, kind of been on like an old game kick here. I've told you multiple times before, one of my dream projects or bucket list projects is to like recreate SimTower, but like for a modern mobile game. I think that would be pretty fun. It probably would need to be redesigned in a lot of ways. But I was like, has anyone ever done this? Like, surely there must be some fans of SimTower. And so I searched like SimTower source code. Well, it turns out that the source code for SimTower was shared by one of the creators. It's called YootTower because the original creator is Yoot Saito, and they worked on SimTower from Maxis as well as the other tower games for the different platforms. So they sent the source code for academic study and to make it open source. And so someone wants to take this and convert it to like Godot and C#. So it's pretty interesting because this is a fully commented code base, so that maybe it's something that I could build off of if I wanted to get inspired and build a SimTower clone for mobile.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There was also a Reddit post where that got quite a lot of upvotes, and people were like, if someone built a SimTower, I would definitely play it, like a new one. So I feel like there's like a little niche market there.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, it's time for our Minnesota long goodbye.
Long goodbye.
What are your closing thoughts here?
Well, I think my closing thoughts are, NPM is about to get some competition because dang,
Well, I think
npmx is looking nice.
I think it's a good thing. At least the front end of it, the front end has not really evolved too much since it originally came out, and the quality of life is certainly lacking now compared to some of these other competitors. So I think that's good. I think there hasn't really been a competitor to the npm front end for a long time. Now there is, so maybe it will spur some like quality of life improvements. So, I think a lot of people are just going to start switching over to npmx.dev because it's going to just be a better experience.
One thing that I'm thinking about here is there are a lot of different people doing registries, and that's not what npmx is doing. They're building a front end for it. But I think one thing that could be interesting is tying all of these disparate registries together to tell a cohesive story.
Yeah.
Might be interesting.
Yeah. Does it search JSR too? Or no?
I want to say that was mentioned somewhere, and I can't find it. I think it was on their about. I don't
think it does because I can't find any of the at standard, at STD names scoped packages from Deno.
So they say with features like dark mode, keyboard nav, code browsing, and connections to alternate registries like JSR. So it sounds like that's in their radar, their scope, which would be awesome.
Yeah, that is neat. It does look like if you packages that are on npm but also on JSR, I can I can switch. I can go to Excalibur and I can switch it to Deno, but I don't actually see a link to the JSR because we are published out there. So it doesn't look like they're doing exactly what I'm thinking, but maybe someone's working on it and it'll come soon. But I do agree. I think it would be cool if it's just a unified package front end, right? That'd be neat. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a whole host of isomorphic server code or non-isomorphic server code that only runs in worker D, or only runs in Bun, or only runs in Deno, or maybe it runs in all of them. It runs in Bun, Node, Deno, what have you, Fridge, Calculator. That would also be a nice feature, seeing that kind of information.
That feature is in JSR, so if they did pull in from JSR, they could easily pull in that information, that metadata. As a package author, you have to specifically say what you're compatible with, but
that's right.
It looks like NPX, their ambition, they'd have no shortage of ambition because I believe that they also want to be an admin tool so that package maintainers can maintain their packages on npmx.dev.
And I think Daniel had an open call for suggestions or features that you might want to see in an admin tool. So definitely shoot Daniel any ideas or any features that you would need as an NPM admin.
Cool. Lovely. Well, I feel like that's a good place to leave this.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think it is a good place.
Yeah. Again, I just feel like we just keep seeing this pattern of new, cooler tools. Our tools are evolving and I like it. All right. Well, you have a good night. Get some sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe not 11 hours, but
11 hours might be too much. Somewhere between 6 and 11. There's probably a sweet spot there.
Mine is 6 to 7. 6, 7. That's my sweet spot. That's my sweet spot for sleep. Yep.
All right.
All right. Cool.
Well, don't let the brain worms get you.
Good night.
All right. See you next time.
Hi, everyone. This is Kamran. I just wanted to thank you for listening to the show, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to see the show notes, you can check your podcast player or go to TypeScript.fm, where you'll see a list of all the episodes. If you enjoyed the show, tell your friends, and please rate it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, because that's how the show grows and gets discovered by more people. If you want to suggest news or a project that should be covered, or just want to say hi, email us at feedback@typescript.fm. If you want to follow us on social, we're both active on Blue Sky. I'm at Kamranicus.com and Eric is at ericonerheim.com. You can also follow the show directly at typescript.fm.